I knew it was coming. Saw the writing on the wall for months. After 24 years with the same company where I spent my entire adult life, my position's being eliminated and I'm being laid off. I know it's not personal, it's business, but it's still personal to me. This business has been my life, my family, my growth, my identity, my security. It's even been my home. I know she hates giving me this message as much as I hate receiving it, so I smile to let her know it's okay. I'm okay. But am I? For the first time in my life, I am truly untethered. For the first time in my life, I get to ask, what do I want to be when I grow up? It's terrifying, but it's also kind of beautiful. I've decided to document it all, the highs, the lows, the ugly cries, and the small wins. There will be days I'll feel unstoppable and days where I'll struggle to find my purpose. I don't have all the answers, but if you're figuring it out too, come with me and we'll make over our midlife together.
All right, everybody, welcome back. You're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. My name is JJ, back with another dose of economic reality. So the layoffs are starting to accelerate. They've been on the uptick, but I think we're really going to see a much more rapid increase now in layoffs. We got a lot of funding cuts that are happening right now with different organizations, different entities. The rubber's starting to hit the road on those. Have you guys seen the latest debt chart that's out? The most recent one from the second quarter. It's bonkers. We're going to talk about that later in the video. But let's get into some other personal stories, other situations that people are going through. And the goal of this is to let you see what other people are going through. So one, if you're going through that, you're going to feel maybe a little bit more comfortable. And two, we're going to see, what these people are likely going to be facing with the cost of living right now. And three, maybe it's a cautionary tale because you could be one of these people getting laid off, losing your job, becoming homeless. And how are you going to deal with those situations, right? So a lot of different things. We're going to tie it in with the broader economy. As always, let's go ahead and move on next right here. And an area that we're starting to see a lot of layoffs accelerate is nonprofits. We've got articles here just in the past few days here, a couple weeks also. 40% of Hampton Roads nonprofits have reduced staff amid federal cuts. No longer a steady partner for nonprofits. That's changing with the federal cuts. Nonprofits tell federal funding cuts are hurting communities. Right? So all these things that were once funded are now being defunded. And ultimately, it's going to end up costing a lot of people their jobs. Let's go ahead and hear from one of these people right now. Oh, by the way, that last video was Jessica Frary. But let's listen to someone that was working at a nonprofit. Take a listen.
I have just lost my job today. I just got laid off. I have worked for the last 5 years in the nonprofit sector. And due to funding cuts, they had to dissolve my role.
Funding cuts.
I have loved my time working with this last nonprofit. I have loved doing the work that I do. I genuinely believe that I have one of the best jobs, or have had one of the best jobs that a person could ever ask for.
People have based their life and the home that they buy and the automobile that they buy on a job that was funded, that was basically in existence only because of free money. You see what I'm saying? So now with the cutbacks on these types of this type of spending and many other, but this one especially, what are people going to do? People are maxed out. People usually go out and buy the most expensive thing that they can afford based on their income. That's why when you get a loan, they look at your income, see how much you can borrow, and most people borrow near the top of what they qualify for. Not always. There's some people that don't get the maximum loan that they're qualified for, but most of the time it's in the upper 80, 90% and even close to the maximum that they qualify for. In other words, people are very leveraged. They're leveraged up on what they're making, but then things change. Let's finish this one out here.
Getting funding as a nonprofit now more than ever has never been more difficult. And the barriers in funding that they are facing is unlike anything I've seen in the last 5 years of my career.
People don't look that far ahead to think that, oh, things may change. There may be a new administration. There may be a different type of economic situation. Funding's going to be cut here and there. I mean, not too many people plan ahead for these things.
I'm just frustrated because I felt like after losing everything last year in Hurricane Helene, I moved to a new area that I don't know anyone, and 2 weeks after moving, we lost everything we had to Hurricane Helene in the flooding. And it's taken from then to now to finally feel like I've found a stride and gotten momentum.
Did she move because she lost everything to get out of the hurricane area, or did she move and then the hurricane hit? I can't tell exactly, but either way, it's tragic.
And I kept having this feeling, things are so good right now. I am afraid for when that next shoe drops. So I'm just taking today to process. I can't believe I lost my job. There's going to be a moment where everything makes sense.
I'm hoping the best for her. I'm really, really hoping the best for her and so many other people in her situation. And when you look at other countries, you think that losing a job, is not that big of a deal when you look at what's happening in the world. But when you're so loaded up on debt and when your paycheck's gone before you even get it, because monthly bills are costing everybody so much right now, it can be a very devastating and it can be traumatizing to get laid off, especially when you're loaded up on debt. I remember younger getting let go from jobs, getting laid off. And I remember laughing and going out with friends and celebrating getting laid off. Oh, I got time off now. I'm going to draw unemployment. Maybe I won't work for 8 months. And back then, this was late 90s, early 2000s. Back then, things were just so much cheaper, obviously. And I, of course, didn't have a family back then. Didn't have many financial obligations. It was funny back then. It was like, I didn't care. But now so many people, they're leveraged up. They're leveraged up on so many financial obligations now. By the way, that last person that got laid off from her nonprofit was Stained in Pink. That's her screen name. So maybe go give her a word. Maybe leave a comment, follow her, give her some encouragement, or just follow her for a journey to see how things go. Hopefully, finding a new job. But before we move on, this is the debt chart that I wanted you to take a look at. Check this out. You can see, leading up to the financial crisis, how debt was increasing exponentially. The economic boom that we saw up until that time was based on borrowed money. Of course, we know what happened with the housing market. Everybody borrowed a bunch of money, got over their heads. Now, it's everything. Housing market as well, but it's everything. And it's even much worse than what it was back then. The difference now is the banks back then were on the verge of failing. Now, the banks are just going to keep loaning out money. I mean, that's what it looks like so far. Every quarter is more debt. Back then, we see why the financial crisis came on, why it was, there's many reasons, many factors, but we can see just from the debt perspective, when the debt drops, the economy stops. That's the way it is. Debt hasn't dropped yet. In other words, people are still able to finance their lifestyles for the most part. Even with job losses, even with changes, people are still able to borrow money, and that's the backbone of the economy and the backbone of economic growth. You think job losses are bad now, though? We haven't even seen a pullback on the debt accumulation. Imagine when the easy money is no longer given out. What are the layoffs going to look like then? If layoffs are already bad now, what's it going to look like when the debt, when money gets tight, when lending gets tight, when it's harder to go into debt, right? It's going to be a world-changing situation for a lot of people. And some of the people getting hit the hardest right now are recent graduates. AI-driven layoffs are shrinking the job market for recent grads, especially recent grads. So in more technology-driven companies, and even customer service type of companies or types of positions, AI is more easily now replacing people. And you can bet if you work for a big company or even a semi-big company, they're investing in AI. They're investing in ways to get rid of you as a person, to get rid of the human workforce and replace you with something much more cheaper and something that's not going to call in sick or complain and claim harassment and all these things. They're not going to go on strike and ask for raises. You know what I'm saying? So companies naturally with the profit-driven corporate America world that we live in, it's not just corporate America, it's worldwide. But of course, this is going to continue to happen, folks. So you've got to brace for it. You got to look for investment opportunities. And a little bit later in this video, we're going to get into that. But first, take a look at this. And here's one I took a look at. Someone with a bachelor's degree just got laid off, I believe, in the finance industry. Take a listen here.
So I just got laid off from my finance job. The company decided to cut costs, and apparently my 4-year bachelor's degree from really good business school and graduating on the dean's list, plus passing my Series 7 on the first try, which not many people do.
Dean's list, Series 7 license, bachelor's.
Didn't meet the cuts, so they decided to make the cuts with my paycheck. Yay me. Now that I have extra free time until I find something better, which I will find something better, because everything happens for a reason, I will now reevaluate my life and maybe start a TikTok page. So if you're also unemployed, maybe hate your job, or just here for my emotional roller coaster, welcome. Let's all figure this out together.
Well, he sounded pretty positive. He didn't sound too stressed out. Something tells me he's not severely over leveraged with monthly obligation, monthly payments. Maybe doesn't have a family, because people that have really heavy financial obligations, people with families like parents, are the ones really stressed out and crying, I think, the most when they get laid off. But even some younger people, I mean, they look like they're really young and they're still really hit hard. That last person we just heard from that got laid off was Alec Huxford. So maybe check him out, give him a follow, and see what's going on with his journey. But let's talk about the more extreme, the more, I think even the sadder scenario that a lot of people are facing right now, and that's homelessness. Every time we look at the numbers, it's getting worse. It's getting worse, getting worse. Cost of living not coming down. So it's more difficult, and it's just going to get worse unless something huge changes, unless we see a complete failure of the current financial structure. This is going to continue to get worse because, they're going to keep on letting people borrow more money to keep this whole thing kicking the can down the road, basically, to keep the bubble inflated. But we need a bubble going burst, and it's going to be very painful at first. But if this bubble is allowed to burst, ultimately it's going to be better. But it's going to be very scary at the very beginning. And I think we're headed towards a time where we're going to see the next big scare situation pop up, and it's going to change everything for the worse. But first, let's take a listen to a couple people here that just wanted to share their situation as far as their living situation. All right, folks, there might be some bad language in this one, so if you're listening with little ones around, maybe get them out of the room or wear some earphones or headbuds or tune out. But I'm sure you probably heard whatever she's going to say. You probably heard it before.
I have nowhere to go. I'm sitting here thinking about where
Did she sprinkle sugar on her face? That dog was like going crazy.
to go. All I can think about is New Mexico because my family doesn't want me anyway.
I know what you're going to say. I know a lot of you are saying you had money to do those nails. You had money to get those real eyelashes. I don't know. You had money to get those piercings. Yeah, those things cost sometimes a lot. But compared to what housing costs right now, those things are just small expenses.
And I was happier in New Mexico. I don't know. I don't know. I have nowhere to go. I can't even pay for this car that is the only closest thing I have to living in something I have nowhere to go.
Isn't it crazy how people are making this type of content where they're basically crying on camera? I never thought I would see such a huge trend in people just putting themselves out there like that. I mean, on one hand, it's pretty neat because if you're someone that's going through hard times, you can kind of connect with a lot of these people, and we've all been seen our ups and downs, of course, some more than others. Some people have silver spoons, and they've never had any problems in their life because they were born into wealth. And they're probably not watching this video right now, so I guess we could talk about them. I'm not one of those people that was born into wealth. I've had to work since I was 18. Got my first job, actually even before I was 18. I started working summer jobs, I think I was like 14. Working summer jobs, had parents take me back and forth to the job. I started working at a very young age. It's just something that my family always did, and always had something going on. No matter what my parents did, the careers changed, but they always stayed busy somehow. Even I talked about it in my last video. Even my alcoholic dad always somehow found a way to work. Even when he got let go for missing too much time and for things I won't talk about here, he got let go, ended up finding other jobs very easily back, 25, 30 years ago. It was much easier. And people are finding jobs now again, but usually it's not enough to keep up with the cost of living. That's the sad part. Let's take a look at another one here, folks. And also, I just want to say I really appreciate everyone that's putting themselves out there. We're not putting these people out there to make fun of them at all. We're empathizing with them, if I can say the word, and also trying to learn, how would you deal with what's happened to some of these people? Would you be able to handle it, or would you be melting down? This is Danger Blue Danny. I think something bad might have just happened to him, unfortunately. Let's take a look at it and go.
140 of being homeless, and I have some very, 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 very shocking news. It's a little nerve-wracking. I'm gonna go back to school. I know it's probably a dumb idea, but I don't know. Well, here's my thought. This is my plan. I've been failing myself a lot. Not lately and before wise. And I think it's time for me to, well, not really time, but I wanted to try to, I don't know. I
just want to give you my thoughts real quick. People are, I think, running out of real people to talk to, real friends to talk to. That's why so many people are on social media now. You might interact with people more on social media than you do in real life. I mean, you might see people when you're out there, people at the grocery store, but as far as really somebody to talk to, people are they're opening themselves up, they're exposing themselves on social media and sharing a lot of their personal details with the world.
So maybe a month or two ago, I was talking to a woman. She was telling me her story about how she got kicked out of school and went back, and it took her a while to get her degree and whatnot.
And it could be like that one guy who had a bachelor's degree, dean's list, and still got laid off. So going back to school is not always the solution. Who knows what he's going to go back to school for? Will it be the right solution? He doesn't even know. He's questioning himself.
And it took a lot of money. And I don't know, recently it came back to me literally yesterday. That's why I didn't make a video yesterday. I was like, man, I want to go to school. And I thought this would be a good step for me because I feel like, my life is kind of not going the way I want it to. And even with the GoFundMe money, I'm not really, what's the word I'm thinking about? I still kind of feel stuck, and I still kind of feel trapped. Being, giving up immediately and I'm just basically going on a vacation for 2 months. But I want your guys' blessing. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I want your guys' blessing to allow.
All right, I didn't want to put out there the whole video. I mean, it's about a 6-minute video. The point is, people are reaching out for help. They're reaching out for emotional support a lot of times because they're going through financial hardships. And we're seeing that over the past 10, 20 years especially, divorces have skyrocketed, and the number one reason that they always say is because of financial issues. And what the divorce rate is at 50% now, or is it even worse? I haven't checked lately. But let's just sidetrack real quick because I just opened up the can of worms here. See what we've got here. Google AI. In 2025, divorce rates in U.S. are estimated to be about 40 to 42% for first-time marriages, with higher rates for subsequent marriages. So if you're on your second marriage or third marriage, your likelihood of that marriage ending is even more. It's even higher. This indicates a decline compared to past decades, but also when you look at it, there's less people getting married, right? Less people starting families because they're afraid of the cost of living, folks, here. But a couple more things before we get out of here on this one. Take a look at this. An NBA player evicted from his high-rise in Detroit, so playing for the Pistons, I assume, had a gambling problem. So you could be making big money, NBA player money, baller money, as many people would call it. You're a baller. And if you spend too much somewhere else, you're going to have trouble, folks. So you might be doing better making $50,000 a year versus someone making NBA money because you're wise on how you spend your money and you're not gambling it away, folks. So that's the name of the game, folks. Watch how you spend. Look for investment opportunities. If you have money to invest, you're one of the very few, because most people don't even have money at the end of the month to invest. That's why I used to talk about investing more, and I found out most of my audience really doesn't have much money left over at the end of the month to invest. But if you do have some, I mean, there's still ways to try to look for opportunities. We've talked about them here many times. We'll get into that more this upcoming week. I've got some things on my radar I'll share with you. Please make sure you're subscribed. As always, keep stacking. Deuces, bye for now.